Hi there, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Trina O'Gorman. If you are returning, welcome back and thank you for joining me again. So I've been going through my notebooks and looking at the ways in which my writing process has changed over time. And I was specifically focused on recent years, starting in 2014, because that's when my marriage imploded, and then, through to 2018 when my ex-husband died. Then 2020, we had the lockdown because of the pandemic. So there were a lot of heightened emotions, there was a lot of trauma, a lot of pain, a lot of confusion during that period of time. And I went from someone who used a notebook at that time to really just jot down notes so I didn't forget things, write down appointments again so I didn't forget them. So it was more of a kind of memory booster kind of exercise and practice for me. But that is what I was doing at the time. And then around October, so my ex-husband left in July or June. It's a long story. June of 2014. And by October, I had purchased a traveler's notebook because oftentimes when I had some sort of significant shift in my life, I would get a new notebook. It was literally it is, because I still do the same thing, literally like turning over a new leaf. And so I had discovered the Traveler's Notebook, I think through some Facebook group that I may have joined, probably about fountain pens, because I was interested in those. But I don't know. I don't remember the order in which I did those things, but I know that I learned about the Traveler's Notebook via social media, because there would have been no other way for me to discover it. And I think because I was going through so much emotionally, it just felt like a community I could belong to, and perhaps in that way it helped. So I began coveting this Traveler's Notebook. Like, if I had this Traveler's Notebook, I could write in it, and then everything would be okay. That kind of thinking, or things would be better. I don't know. But I really placed a lot of faith in the fact that that particular notebook was going to help me in some way. And maybe it did, in that I was just so committed to the process. Like, I figured I'd get the notebook and it would encourage me to write. And maybe that's what happened, or maybe I just needed to write. But in any event, I did write, and I wrote a lot. And my writing, I can see the process where it was still me jotting down notes about the things that I needed to get done throughout the course of the day, in my teaching, in my parenting, taking care of the house. Maybe I had someone coming in to repair something, or I had to observe a student teacher, or one of the kids needed something for a class. And so I was just writing things down. And my style was always, I wouldn't say chaotic, but it was very kind of unformed. It was not structured like a bullet journal, though I had tried that, and I almost immediately discarded that idea. That just does not work for me, and I don't really see the point of it. But I did see the point of expressive writing, and by that I mean writing my feelings, writing about the events in my life, writing about the trauma that I was experiencing in order to try to process it. One thing that I noticed was that I would start ranting, right? Ranting. And I would often focus on what my ex-husband was doing to either make me angry, hurt me, hurt us, make things difficult. So I would be ranting and raving and really being very negative and angry about what he was doing to me. And so many of the things I was writing at that time were really focused on what was being done to me. So yeah, I was writing. I was writing a lot. Was the writing helpful? I would say probably not. I would say I would start writing and I'd be mad, and I would finish writing and I would still be angry. I would be angry because my writing was just supporting me being angry. And even though I had the right, I think, to feel what I was feeling, like my feelings were authentic and perhaps they were warranted to a certain extent. But in order, like with respect to me, like growing and evolving and becoming someone who felt more empowered and more in control of their destiny, I needed to do something different. And I was able to, probably with the help of my therapist, because I was in therapy at the time, and though we didn't discuss my writing specifically, we discussed my energy, right? Like my perspective. And in my thinking, my mindset, and in my writing, I made the decision to shift my style of expressive writing. So I still permitted myself to pour out everything that I was feeling authentically and just raw. Like that was always going to be okay. But then at the end of the writing session, like the end of the page, I would attempt to, I always call it walk to or write to the light. Like I would always attempt to end it on an upswing. Not like, oh, life is great, but what in my life is okay, you know, like the kids and I still had a roof over our heads. We loved and laughed and played all the time, like every day. So despite the fact that I was struggling with a lot of things with their dad, I was still very fortunate to have a stable environment for all of us to live in. And so, and we had friends and we had family and we were well embraced by a lot of people. And, you know, I had a job. So there was a lot of other things going on. And while I could spend a lot of time harping on the things that were terrible and bad and negative, I could also shift my attention to the other things that were happening in my life. And I would do that. So I would allow myself to rant. I would allow myself to be angry. And I would be like, oh yeah, you know, today my student, or today one of my kids did this, just to like make sure that I kept in mind that not everything was horrible. At some point, I moved into a new headspace where I was able to start going back and rereading some of the things that I had written, which is something that I had never really done in the past. I would write and then just archive my notebooks and years ago destroy them. But I still had them all, and I decided to go through them and reread them. And as I was doing that, I came up with this idea that I would look for the lessons. And when I did that, I took it one step further and decided I would look for the lessons and then write the lessons on a post-it note and put that post-it note on that page. And so I started doing that, and I found that to be really empowering because I could take an objective look at my life experiences and really understand, like, create a personal narrative that was not just me always being right and the other people always being bad and me being victimized and me being hurt, but really about life experiences that I'd had, some good, some terrible, some traumatizing, but that I was able to learn things from and grow from. And so I found that method of going back and rereading what I'd written and then finding the lessons or summarizing it or making some sort of objective point on a post-it note to really be empowering, which I think I already said. So I'm not going to repeat that again. But I hope you found this to be helpful because I think it's very easy to get caught up in a cycle of just blaming other people for where we are in life and finding it hard to take accountability. And taking accountability doesn't always mean that you did something wrong, though I think in all relationships, everyone plays different roles and, allows certain things to transpire the way that they transpire. But even with that said, I think accountability also supports the idea that it's your life, right? Whatever you're going through, whatever is happening to you, even if another person is involved, even if you are a victim of some sort of trauma or abuse, I would like to think that we still have the wherewithal, the will, the opportunities to get out of those situations, to heal from those situations, to resolve conflicts, to grow from negative experiences. And so I think looking at the experience is great and dealing with processing the feelings is great, but it's also important to move beyond that and look at growth and healing. So I hope that helped. And as always, I am wishing you peace in writing. Bye.